Mark, good to see you.
And you?
Jack Butland's tweeted in the last hour and a half or so. I don't know if somebody's told you, but
Yeah, no, I'm aware of it.
I thought you might be aware of it. He says he's delighted that the ankle's completely healed and he's been back out there with the gloves on. So that's good news for you.
Well, yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. Really, he's just come back from obviously doing 2 to 3 weeks in Qatar, and he was very positive about how the ankle was feeling. So obviously today he was due to see the consultant, and by all accounts it's gone well, and he's had good news, and we're delighted with that. We suspected that would be the situation, given how Jack was talking about the injury and how it felt in comparison to maybe before, when we didn't quite get to the bottom of what actually was going on. And hopefully now he'll have a good run and we can get him playing again.
Have you got any idea of time frame from here when he might be able to be selected for the first team again?
Well, I mean, he's been out for a significant amount of time, so it's difficult to put an exact time on it. But in fairness, his fitness in terms of his well-being, his physiology will be fine. It's just obviously he's got to get back to playing games and training on a daily basis with the gloves on. It's me, that, don't worry.
Oh,
yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see how long that takes. But I would imagine once he's out training and he's had a number of weeks with us, then it should be sooner rather than later. Be the car. Thinking of it's been nicked again.
A lot of positives to take out of Saturday's game, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 2-0 win, pretty comfortable from our point of view, and good reaction from a poor performance against Spurs. So we're delighted with that. Quitted ourselves really well, got the job done, and really didn't come in under any real pressure, to be perfectly honest. That was more to do with us rather than any inadequacy of the opposition, in my view. I think we just put in a good professional performance, got the job done, as I said, and were good value.
Marko Arnautovic gets 2 goals. First one at home in over 300 days, which surprised me when I saw that stat. And
surprised me, actually.
Yeah, when I saw your comments afterwards saying that you want him to enjoy scoring more, be a bit more greedy. That's obviously from a striker's perspective. Is that what you're asking of him now then? Yeah,
well, we had similar conversations last year as well, and we had a good response. I think he scored 11 in the end. And Marko takes as much enjoyment from creating chances as he does from scoring. I was the complete opposite. I'd much rather score, to be perfectly honest. But he hasn't quite got that mentality that I had. But I think clearly at the weekend he enjoyed the moment. He enjoys engaging with the fans after he scored as well. So that's part of his makeup and part of his personality. So my view was that why wouldn't you want to do it on more occasions and have that reaction and that interaction with the crowd that he had at the weekend. So that's the challenge for him, and clearly when he's playing well and scoring goals and impacting games, then we're better as a team for it.
I mean, the only negative I saw from the weekend, and again, this is perhaps looking for negatives where there weren't any, but you had 8 shots on target and scored 2. Are you looking for a better return on that? When you're playing some of the better teams, you perhaps need a better return than that?
Well, possibly, but you have to factor in the goalkeeper. He made a number of key blocks and stops for them. So sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, well, we haven't done anything particularly wrong there. It's just the opposition keeper has kept them in the game at that point. So clearly we'd like to convert this. The point I made after the game was that maybe we had a couple of clear-cut opportunities where just the final ball with the correct weight and the right angle pass, we could have obviously taken the game away from them sooner and won the game more comfortably, because there were just a number of moments, I think, when I think we won the ball on the edge of their box. I think Ryan, it was, just didn't produce the right ball. I think Marko had an opportunity in the second half as well to just produce the right ball and put it on the plate for Ramadan, I think. So those are just the memories from the game that obviously I mentioned after. So I think if we get that part and we're a little bit more clinical in those moments, then clearly we're going to score more goals.
Ramadan Sobhi seems to be showing some brilliant moments, and each game it feels as though he's putting more and more of those brilliant moments together. Are you feeling that he's on the verge of being a real star in the Premier League?
Yeah, we can't get too ahead of ourselves. He's only just 20, in fairness, and he's a young man. He's coming to a new country, new culture. Hasn't got too much of the language as yet, but he's working exceptionally hard on that part. But I think we've progressed him at the right rate. Obviously, we knew he was going away to the African Cup of Nations and knew he'd get good game time there. So we just eased him in, just give him a taste of the Premier League prior to that. Had a good experience in the tournament and came back and had good game time, and I felt he was ready maybe to start games. And in fairness, the games he started and played from the off, he's had an impact in. So he's kept his place, he's there on merit, and he's doing exceptionally well. But the key is that we don't get too ahead of ourselves, rather than, I know Ramadan won't, because he's a very level-headed young man, but we don't want to put too much pressure on him. But his initial showings in a very difficult league, a league that's completely different to him in terms of the intensity, obviously, that he's used to, but he's doing really well, and we're really pleased. So hopefully that'll continue.
Gianni Mbulo wasn't even in the squad at the weekend. Stoke's club record signing. Is there a problem there?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it's difficult to get. We've got well, after the weekend, well, prior to the weekend, we had basically apart from a few exceptions, we had basically a full squad fitting well. And when that's the case, then obviously if you're not on the team, it's, from my point of view, picking the bench. It's about trying to cover every eventuality and preempting things, and as a consequence, you've got to think about injuries to defensive players, to midfield players, to front players, and whether or not you need more options at the top end of the pitch if you're chasing games, or do you need more defensive players, given the game is against different opposition. So all those things come into play when you're thinking about what the makeup of the bench is. Clearly, we wanted G to be involved at first team level and really pushing to get in the first 11. That hasn't unfortunately happened for him as well as we would have hoped, and at the weekend it was just a case that I needed to cover other eventualities possibly, and he missed out. But that's not to say that he won't be involved on Wednesday.
Is it now the challenge for your team to prove themselves against the big six, if you like? It seems as though you've had hugely impressive performances against everybody else, but struggled against the better teams. And I know you've said a lot about the quality and the buying power that they possess, and there is that gap. But is that the next level of challenge for you now?
I think we've challenged since I've been here. We've always had good results. We've beaten everybody.
Maybe more this season.
Well, you can say that. I mean, it's been more difficult. I think I've said to you before that I think the top six have invested well and just gone up a level in comparison to previous years, and so that makes it more difficult to get positive results out of them. But even saying that, we've been unbeaten against Manchester United, which has never been done in the Premier League. So we're still competing, but it's clearly at times the margin of victory is too large, and obviously that's was reflected in the manner of the defeat against Spurs, when we didn't really compete and get close to them. So we've got to have an improvement on that. We've got two big games, clearly, in Man City and Chelsea back-to-back, where we need to improve on what we produced against Spurs. But I think maybe, well, I'm hoping that given our experience against Spurs, who are a very good side, I have to say, I watched their game against Everton, and I know the game finished 3-2, but it could easily have been 4-5-0 at half-time like it was against us. So I think they illustrated once again what a good side Spurs are. So as long as we're better than we were against Spurs, I'm sure we can be an irritant and cause certainly Man City and Chelsea problems in the next two games. But it's about obviously doing the things we know we can do well, doing them consistently well during the 90 minutes and seeing where that takes us.
What about Man City? Can they catch Chelsea? It looks like if anybody's going to catch him, it's probably only them, is it?
You would think so, and Tottenham. I think, in fairness, I think I've been really impressed with Spurs and of all the teams. I think they're the ones that certainly have caused us more problems than any other. Man City would run them close in that regard as well. So I think it's between those two to run Chelsea close. I think it's Chelsea's to lose, to be perfectly honest, because they seem to have that mindset of getting to this stage of the season and just ticking off the games, and that's what you have to do when you're going for championships. You see the end game, you see the end of the race, and you just edge your way there and take one game after another and just get the job done. And we're in that period now, and you sense Chelsea have got that little bit of know-how that you need, that maybe Spurs haven't got, so that may go against them. But you sense it's Chelsea's to lose, in my view.
Finally, team news, Martin's injury and his knee.
Yeah. Well, he overextended his knee. At the time, I wasn't sure whether or not it was a bang or he had compromised his knee. But he's very doubtful, I have to say. He's been checked. Scans have come back clear, so he's not got any touch wood significant damage. But clearly, he's very sore. So it may be that he won't make. He won't make the City game, unfortunately. But the likelihood is that he should be okay in a number of days, but this one might come around a little bit too soon for him. But we're grateful that it's not more serious than it could have been.
Anybody else?
Glenn Johnson's a doubt. He's got an injury to his shoulder, so that makes him doubtful. Marko Arnautovic is ill from the weekend. Actually, he had to come off because he's struggling with infection in his sinuses, and that's raised his temperature, unfortunately, so he wasn't in training today. So we'll have to check him tomorrow. Apart from that, I think we're okay. Shaqiri is fit and available. Apart from that, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Mark, just in terms of Jack potentially coming back, obviously Leeds done incredibly well in the
Yep.
interim. How do you sort of view that situation? Is it very much the case that Jack can't make any sort of assumptions about regaining his first?
Well, once Jack's fit, we can have the conversation. I don't really need to answer at this early stage. We're pleased that Jack's at a point in his recovery that it looks, hopefully, that this time it's not a false dawn, and we can really look forward to him being back fit, well, and available for selection. So at that point we'll have a discussion. But I have to say, Lee's done exceptionally well. We're delighted with what he's produced, and if we feel there's an option, obviously, to maybe give Jack the opportunity to have games before the end of the season, whether or not we take it, or we think, well, let's make sure he's right for pre-season. There's any number of options that may well be open to us, but until we see him progressing and working on the training ground on a regular basis, we haven't really got to answer that question, and really haven't got the answer for you anyway. So it's okay, I haven't pinched my car. There you go. Sorry. Is that it? Hold up. Go on.
I was going to say you've been in charge of Stoke for just over 4 years. In fact, as of last week, I think it's just longer than your time at Blackburn.
Right.
Would you like to stay another 4 years, and if so, what do you believe you can achieve in those 4 years?
Given the opportunity, yeah, let's see where that takes us. That decision won't be my decision; it'll be the chairman's decision. I'm not. For goodness sake.
That's him on the phone now.
That's it. 4 years is enough. No, we're doing okay. We're doing fine. Every year it's more difficult, but we're still consistent Premier League side. I think we've raised expectations here, and why not? I haven't got a problem with that. But expectations brings its own problems sometimes. But I think we're never going to complain about people maybe expecting too much, because we're the ones that have raised the expectations, and in my time here, so we'll keep on making sure that we're progressing, hopefully, in people's minds. And if we continue to do that, then hopefully majority of people will be happy.
Well, what about your aspirations? Do you want to be Stoke manager for a long period of time? Is that something?
That's my view. I got another 2 years after this contracted to be the manager, and I'd like to think I get to the end of that contract. I think there's still work to be done here and challenges ahead of us, not only for myself but everybody connected with the club. But it's how we face those challenges and how we navigate them. So hopefully we'll do it to the correct level. Okay, no problem.
Thanks, Mark. Good luck.
No problem. Thanks.